Welcome to another episode of Sex After. I'm your host, Ashley Cobb, and we are here today talking to Tamela Gordon. So, Tamela has a really good topic, and I've been really excited to talk about it. I've been waiting for this conversation. So, today we are talking about sex after, or sex while, or sex using false teeth, right? So, let me say, first of all, I would think that, particularly when it comes to head, that you just don't need teeth. You just take them all out and get to doing what you do. And I would think that if you're someone who has sex with someone with a penis, that they would love it. It would be amazing to not have teeth at all. So, Tamala.
I don't know why I had envisioned a certain level of small talk, but I want to say that I do appreciate your Wendy Williams approach. This bottom line, I am just, I didn't even have time to do apprehension because we were full throttle in the bedroom.
Okay,
Um,
we can go back.
You
Okay,
know,
so we can back
I
it
don't think
on
you
up.
can, and I think
Okay.
that's okay. I think I like being thrown into the cold water and not dipping my toes. I think this is how it should be.
Okay.
So first of all, thank you. I always want to be clear. Thank you for holding space for this conversation
You're welcome.
because I put it in my book intentionally because I know for myself, I was in my late 30s when I was diagnosed with severe periodontal disease.
Okay.
So the first things that I was worried about was how am I gonna eat and how am I gonna fuck?
Mhm.
And what is this gonna look like? What is this gonna look like?
Mhm.
And I did what everybody else do. I Googled
Mhm.
and there was no information. Everybody was like 85 years old and biting into fake apples and I was like, oh, this ain't it. So I had to join actual support groups
Okay.
and ask
Ooh,
people,
there's
yeah,
support groups.
yeah, oh yeah, baby, you better believe it. We out here. The essay in my book is actually called Gummy Bitch, and
Okay.
it's a joke, based off of that and what I had learned. Um, but I say all that to say that I wrote about it so that I could facilitate that space. And since the book has come out, I've had to discuss this in very deep discretion
Mhm.
because if I'm not careful, it becomes a punchline. And the
Yes.
goal is to get people to feel comfortable to talk about it. And
Yes.
so I'm just so eager. This is actually my first public conversation that I'm having about intimacy and dentures. And that's why I love your whole approach. I was like, oh, this is how you do
No,
it.
this is get straight to the point. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about your book, and so tell people what the name of your book is, what it's about. So let's go do that first.
Yeah, so my book that was released earlier this year is Hood Wellness: Tales of Communal Care from People Who Drowned on Dry Land, and it centers the stories of those of us who navigate hyper marginalized intersections, and it really confronts what wellness looks like with community, without community, as well as various aspects of wellness. And for me personally, it did include sex. And so there are parts in the book where we speak about wellness in financial aspects and as well as physical. And for myself, again, just not having that space of finding the information. There's a lot of individuals who do speak about what intimacy and dating and sex looks like with various different kinds of bodies and
Mm-hmm.
various different intersections. Some of us are living with HIV. Some of us are
Mm-hmm.
living with physical disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
and we still out here getting it. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't have that representation. So that's really what Hood Wellness is about, is providing that space so that we can normalize conversations like this a little bit more.
Okay, good. I love that. And it's called Hood Wellness. Okay, so anybody who didn't hear that, Hood Wellness, and information on where you can buy that will be is also down in the information in the caption. So FY. So let's just get right to it. Okay, because
Yes.
so how do you approach sex with your partners? Like, do you just tell them like on first date, like, oh yeah, by the way? right? By the way, these come out. So like, how do you tell them? When do you tell them? How they respond typically? All the things. We want all the
Yeah.
things.
Initially, I will say that my lifestyle was a little differently when I had first gotten dentures.
Okay.
And also, no, I refer to it as dentures and sometimes as prosthetic teeth.
Okay.
So it's interchangeable. Um, and so when I was engaging in very casual intercourse one night, I was not, I didn't feel a need to mention it. And it was
Okay.
something that, was like my little secret. But the thing was that when it came to intimacy and giving head, and I tend to date, cisgender males.
Okay.
So when it came to that, I already knew that there was not going to be any uninstallation going on. Like how you pick me up and how I leave, like it's the same unit. I don't take off the lace front, so I'm not
Okay.
even going to pop out the teeth. That's just me. I'm not opposed to it. I've yet to be in a long term kind of thing where that has even happened. But I knew that when I wanted to give head, I wanted some teeth in my mouth.
Okay.
And I remember talking as well as with my friends, and we would joke around and say, well, are you trying to perform or are you trying to win a contest?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm trying to win, I might have to retire. But if I'm trying to still have some fun and give the illusion of things happening down there, then I was like, oh, I can do that.
Okay.
So I actually write about the first time that I did get head with my
Okay.
prosthetic
Tell
teeth
us. Tell us
in.
about that,
Yeah,
please.
I can tell you. Um, so, and he was really hot too. He was super hot. It was very intense.
Okay.
And he was someone who was very into pleasuring me. And
Okay.
so it was one of those things where I already knew, like, what was what my part. I knew what role I was playing.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, be cute about it. And I was. And I was able to, suck a tip and the little licky licky and all that. I'm an Aries.
Okay.
I have a unnecessary false sense of confidence all the time. It's a
Okay.
gift and it's a curse.
Okay.
So there was a moment when I was like, oh, yes, honey, all the things I can do. Okay, it's nothing I can't do. And so I attempted to deep throat.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And when I did this, I could actually hear my mother listening and laughing and turning up and down because she wants to know what she don't want to know. But when I did this, the tip of the circum's penis kind of flipped from the back of my denture.
Okay.
And there was a moment when I know he was like, what? And I know that I was, so I just started like jerking real quick, like, he's kind of distracted. I'm just like, optical illusion.
You ain't feel what you feel. You ain't feel what you
Exactly.
felt,
Yes,
man.
yes,
You know
yes.
what I'm
Nothing to
saying?
see here. Nothing to see here. And so I can say that it can be done, but it's not something that you could really do fully. Like you gotta, I guess, be on your hand game and be really cute. But if you're really trying to give a proper head, then you would have to take off your teeth. And while I imagine that for the receiver, that is doubly pleasurable, I know for me there's a level of vulnerability that just makes me wildly uncomfortable.
Okay.
And it has a lot to do with the part of like it's still a part of my body.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate thinking of removing a part of my body. But then I also think, a lot of times I talk about prosthetic teeth and I will say that it is very similar to being an amputee in that I do have to take it off. It's not going to stay in. It has to be removed. If I don't have it, my quality of my life will change drastically. My
Right.
health will change. So these are things that I think I factor into intimately, but also, um, I have a book out with a chapter called Gummy Bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm in a kind of weird space where it's likely that suitors know more about my background and this situation than I might want them to, or I might even assume that they do know. So I'm still actively navigating what this looks like in the long game.
Okay, so question. So I know like when I was young, my 20s trying to learn how to suck dick and get head. So like I practice. I watch a little porno and I practice on a banana or something, right? So like,
Mhm.
because I'm like, okay, let me figure out how to do this. So do you think though, with some practice, that maybe you can get like do all the things. Like if you just sat home every day for like 30 minutes, I don't know, and you got you a deal, I'm going to figure this out.
Mhm.
Is the
Do
thing
I
like
think that
practice
I would
makes
be
better,
able?
or is this thing like this is not something I can do?
One of the biggest challenges is that prosthetic teeth take out about 35% of the real estate in your mouth.
Okay,
And so for myself, it has a lot more to do with the ability to open even wider than I
got you.
was opening before and to consciously stay wider.
Okay,
Because even with things as simple as biting into a burger,
okay,
I would surprise myself thinking that I've got it and I might have just had like some lettuce in the bottom of a bun because the
okay,
way that I was used to opening up my mouth, and that
okay,
was the first thing that I realized giving head.
okay,
I thought that my mouth was open wide enough, and I was like, oh no, baby, you got to work a little harder than you used to because you got a little vacancy in here. So I don't think I will never not practice with a banana, bitch. I
okay,
think for the rest of my days, okay, give me a little something, and I'm going to continue to challenge because I eat corn on the cob. I
okay,
chew on things. I need to live a life as full as possible, and I don't like the idea of not being able to do anything. So I do it consistently. The way that a woman does Kegels and shit, or someone with
hmm
a Kegel,
hmm
that's how I do with strengthening and
okay,
widening my mouth and practicing so that, one day I can get right back in the game.
okay, cool. So how do men usually react whenever they find out that you do have dentures? Do they care? Do they not care? Is it
There's
is
definitely a percentage of men that care, yeah. And
okay,
and and I think it ghosted immediately after saying it. There's also been men who have kind of been like, so what?
okay,
Um, it's a little bit of a hit or a miss. And what I have found is that it's better to just say it than not say it. And it's
okay,
better to say it without excuse because there are definitely men who don't care. There are definitely men who know my story and all of that and
hmm
continue to pursue me and all of that. But then there are also those who cannot see themselves with a woman who takes her teeth out at night, like on period. And so I find that it has more to do with who I'm interested in and
hmm
what that looks like. Because at the end of the day, if you don't accept me for having prosthetic teeth, that's a preference and that's a
it is,
right.
it
And
is
it's also a character stain as far as I'm concerned. And it's theirs, it's not mine.
right.
But that's just part of the dating game. I'm also fat. So, I'll meet there's funny guys who want it.
Same. I like. There's people learn some shit all the time. There's a lot of people who are not into bald headed dark skinned chicks. It's just what it is.
Right. And so it doesn't make you make apology for it. If anything, I feel as though it makes you double down on the suitors who are into it.
hmm
You know?
I was just wondering because like if you don't, I would just wonder like what would happen if you just didn't say anything, like just didn't say anything at all,
Mhm.
and they kind of figure it out as they went along, like as you got to know me as a person and all the things. Because if you couldn't tell, before and after we've had sex or whatever, and you couldn't tell, then maybe it's not a big thing as you think it is. I would think, but
I've considered that.
hmm
I think it's because, I'm a very outright person.
okay,
And even, living as somebody with dentures, it becomes a part of it's entered into my work and it's entered into even my image of self. And I think that might be hard for me to keep inside
Okay.
because there's so much stigma to it.
Hmm.
There's so much stigma to not having good teeth,
Yeah.
having bad teeth, having that missing tooth in it, all of
Hmm.
it, So by the time I watch these videos on TikTok of they're usually white women too with dentures, and they put their teeth in at the end,
Oh
just
yeah.
like we put our lashes on, right?
Yes, I've seen
And
those.
then and I love it, and you could see it, and a lot of people love it too. But then you could also see the hate in the comment section,
Hmm.
and it always reminds me. I remember my dentist said, "Listen, nobody will ever have to know. I will hook you up so well that when you leave this dentist office, you and then me are the only ones who are gonna know." And I was comforted by the aesthetic of that, but I also felt like I don't want any more secrets, man. Like I
Okay.
have enough, things that I kind of keep in, and I didn't want that to be on top of it. So I do tend to put it out there but I will say I've learned in the denture group, there are more than a few adults who do not mention that they have prosthetic teeth, and it comes up randomly, like months down the line. I've
Hmm.
read even like a year plus down the line where they might be eating something in a restaurant and it removes, or they might travel somewhere and they're like, oh, I forgot my adhesive. And then it's like this awareness for their partner, and it's not a make or break, it's not like
Right.
like I could never.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. Like, if we've been rocking and rolling for 6, 7 months, at this point, it's just what it is. Clearly, it's not that big of a deal. And then also, like, if you're spending the night with a guy for the first time, um, do you keep them in? Do you take them out? Like, like what do you do if it's like your very first overnight stay? How does that usually go? Well, you okay? So you tell them before you stay the night. Is what I'm guessing.
If I'm saying if it is something casual, if the person that I'm looking
Hmm.
at is not someone who I see it advancing, if this is just a basic level companionship, then
Right.
I'm gonna sleep with my teeth in. I will likely take them out when I'm in the shower, lock the door, put it in its case, and let it sit in its fixes for about 15 minutes, and then come out fresher than ever.
Got you. Got you.
Um, and I always think about that I owe it to myself to be comfortable.
Right.
So when I am with someone and there is going to be that level of consistency, I sleep with my teeth out of my mouth.
Okay.
That's the healthy way to do it. That's how I do it. And so I would not regress because, little Dwayne coming over again. If Dwayne coming over 4 times a week, then, Dwayne is going to have to learn sooner than later how
Right.
I go to bed and how I
Right.
wake up.
Right. So what advice would you have for someone who maybe in your same situation, who's maybe in their 30s or their 20s or 40s or whatever age, and they are very self-conscious about the fact that they have dentures. And so what would be your advice to that?
I would tell them that the unknown is scary, but
Mhm.
ultimately nothing has to change.
Okay.
It is absolutely a process. I mean, I've had to learn how to talk again and chew again and just work my mouth again. But when you get over that transition, you get your life back. And not only do you get your life back, you get your life back with a mouth that has a set of teeth that you no longer are embarrassed about.
Hmm.
You don't have to worry about your health. You don't have to worry about why someone's staring at you. You make eye contact with people. In all honesty, dating is kind of easier
Okay.
because I don't have that embarrassment on my teeth and
Okay.
the unhealthiness of it, and I hope you're not paying attention to this. And I've got a beautiful mouth now, and it aids in the confidence. So I definitely I always want people who are in that oral health journey to understand your life actually improves.
Hmm.
Your quality of life absolutely improves.
Okay. So what would be your advice for someone if they ask a question? Should I or should not tell the person that I like about my prosthetic teeth? What would you say?
Um, I think that it is, of course, it is a judgment call, but I can honestly say that the best sex I've ever had is the one where I don't have anything to hide.
Mm,
And I'm not nervous about what they're going to think. I've tried deep throat with guys who didn't know I had dentures on, and it was embarrassing. And I tried deep throat on guys, and I told them, I want to tell you, I'm going to do my best, but and actually enjoyed myself a lot more and felt
okay.
comfortable. And so I think that if you value a good time, and if
Mm.
you value connection with a person, it's worth telling.
I agree with that. You can't really have great sex if you're in your head worried about certain things. If I'm worried about, oh, I don't notice this, or if I'm doing this right, you can't enjoy it. And then
Right.
if you're not enjoying it, then why are we doing this for?
Okay, exactly. And it's just you're in your head and you're supposed to be in the sheets.
Right. So if someone wanted to reach out to you, have more questions, or someone who can relate to your story, do you have social media they could find you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I am She Writes to Live on Instagram and Threads.
Okay. I am She Writes Live, and that'll be in the also in the comments. Thank you, Tamala, for joining us.
Thank you. This was fun.